it's not as easy to enjoy as your regular blockbuster, especially if that's what you used to. I think that. Do you think that the audience is ready to receive this kind of movie, especially in a industry that is kind of, they go with superheroes only, and there is no place for questioning or for thinking or for even, I don't know, considering what's happening.
The film Apocalypse Now had the same exact difficult reaction as does Megalopolis. When Apocalypse Now came out, there were many critics said it's the worst film ever made, and there were many people who said it was the greatest film ever made. And whenever you have that kind of reaction, totally divisive, you must have something interesting, because how can one piece of work have views that are opposite to each other? And the reason is because it is not playing by the rules of the industry that you speak of, or the blockbusters that have big budgets. So one of the disturbing things or confusing things about Megalopolis is that it has such a big budget, because normally art films, personal films, don't have that kind of a budget. So that's a historical first. The second thing is that Megalopolis doesn't play by the rules of blockbusters. There's a very specific rule that has been set down intending to remove risk from the business of making movies. In other words, they want to have an industrial art which earns money without the chance of it not making money. But you know, making art without risk is, I've said, like making babies without sex. You have to have risk, or you don't have art.
I agree.
And also, Megalopolis comes at a time. The purpose of art, by the way, in my definition, is art is here to help illuminate contemporary life for people. As we all live in these times, 2025, but things are going on in the world that are very difficult to understand why they're going on, and the purpose of art would be to put light on what's going on so that we can talk about it and understand it. And that's what Megalopolis wants to do.
Do you think people are in need of this kind of movie to make you think? Because from my experience going to the movies lately, it has been like watching the same movie over and over.
But it is that. It's that they want to make movies without risk, which means get you addicted to Coca-Cola.
Can Hollywood make people enjoy new ideas?
Well, I don't know what Hollywood is, but in other words, art is enjoyable. I mean, there was a time in the past in France where everyone knew how a picture had to be. And there were some people came along and Matisse or Monet or the new, but those are the paintings people enjoy today. They don't, if I said I'll give you a French painting, you're not going to get one from the French Academy. You're going to say, okay, give me a Matisse, or give me, but those paintings in those days, nobody wanted. There was a wonderful painter, I think his name was Henri Rousseau, and he was a clerk, and he painted these pictures of tigers in the jungle and would go to the corner to sell them for a few dollars, because he didn't have enough money to have a wife, and all he wanted in life was to be able to have a wife. And he never did. He died without ever having a wife, and one of those paintings now you could buy for $50 million. So there's a long old story about something that is new being discredited by what was old, and then being what is valuable. The avant-garde of the past becomes the wallpaper of the future.
I see. You've been the avant-garde for a long time, and you said something decades ago about cameras becoming smaller and people being able to make their own movies, no hassle. It has become such. And by the way, I'm here talking to you being born of the internet and social media. Now, in the future, do you see technology playing a big part in transformation of the cinema, or it's going to be something more humane as new ideas they might be using new technology, but the transformation comes from people. What do you think? It's going to come from the technology or people?
Well, that's a tricky question because even the word technology implies the genius of human beings. But technology is not created to limit us. Technology is created to further us, and there will always be technology. I mean, the wheel is technology. But most of the great technology happened when we were playing with our children. Everything. I mean, in ancient times, they used to put heavy things on trees and roll them. And then with the little kid, they gave him a little thing to toy and some twigs, but he couldn't put the twigs, so they attached it. And they invented the wheel as a little toy for the kids. And then they said, well, let's build a big one. A movable type. We know about Gutenberg and the movable type, but there's a movable type on the cave painting because you see big hands and little hands, and they blew. Gunpowder was invented by the Chinese to be fireworks to delight the children and became gunpowder. The steam engine was originally a toy. So I think, yes, we will always be inventors of technology, but we should do it playing with our children because that's when we are the most creative. And let's build robots that do the other kind of labor and toil, so we don't have to do it, which is totally. That's what I think is going to happen.
Interesting. And we are also seeing how artificial intelligence is taking place in this world. Do you think it's also possible to help cinema somehow?
Well, already that we're using artificial intelligence, but artificial intelligence, do you know what CRISPR is? CRISPR.
Yeah, I do.
You do. So two things that we have invented, one being CRISPR, the ability to cut our genes, and artificial intelligence, which is going to get a big boost shortly because of the quantum computer. Those are things that we have to keep in a box because we don't want to fool with our genome because we might cure your son's sickle cell anemia. That's okay. But if it gets into the big genome of us, we don't know the result. I mean, it could be in 50 years, all of a sudden a spider hair will come out of our head. We don't know. So people around the world, including China, have restricted fooling around with the human genome, and we have to also not allow artificial intelligence to just wander through the internet because it can write code. And that's very dangerous to have something so smart be able to have all the knowledge of the universe and write. You know how hard it is even without AI writing code today. I mean, you can't do anything without it saying, well, you got to go here and get the number there. And so be careful, keep those two things in a box.
Okay. There are some, how did the I don't know, how did the experience of making Apocalypse Now prepare you or in some way make you a person able to make better decisions when filming Megalopolis?
Well, because I was very worried when Apocalypse Now came out because it had such negative reviews and it was not, it didn't win any Oscars or it wasn't noticed. But people kept going to see it again and again and again. And to this day, for 40 years, Apocalypse Now is always making money. So, there's two ways to make money in a movie. The normal way, where you make a lot of money so you can pay your debts. But the other way is my way, which was to make films that people are still looking at 50 years later. And I have no doubt in my mind that Megalopolis is going to play for the next 50 years.
Okay, right. But so it was not a difficult decision to decide to fund it yourself?
It's always a difficult decision. No one wants to go in, in Apocalypse Now, which I own, the debt in those days was 21%. You ever hear of interest being 21%? Well, that's what it was during Apocalypse Now. It's not so bad today. What is it, about 8%? So the trick is that you have to pay the loan off at some point, and you know, the way I did it is I made just. I have a way to handle it also, but you can't be afraid of the dominance of money, because money didn't always exist. You know, money is a recent invention. When you think of our human family being 300,000 years, there was only money beginning in when there was armies going places. They had coins, so they didn't have to just steal the chickens. So there's a great book, by the way, by David Graeber called "Debt: The First 5,000 Years." That you should.
Well,
there's many great books that you can read. People don't read very much.
Yeah, they don't read very much. Well, I'd say that
you have children.
I do. I have 2 children.
How old are they?
They are 11 and 9.
Don't you want them to live in a beautiful world?
That's the what I want the most.
Right. Well, that's what Megalopolis wants, and that's what Nebula is preaching.
Well, but for us to end, we don't have a lot of time. So you are one of the most admired movie directors in the world, especially in Brazil, with many famous works. Megalopolis would you say that Megalopolis is the movie you would like to be remembered for?
I don't mind being remembered for any of my movies. I like the ones I wrote myself the most, like The Conversation, or The Rain People, or some of those movies. But I'm going to be remembered for my children.
Well, I think you're going to be remembered by a lot of people. What about the movie Distant Vision?
Yes, that's the one that I would love to be able to make. That's the one that really would be my idea of my most ambitious, most unusual, and as a writer, most difficult project. I'm going to go work on that after I do one more little film for fun. I'm entitled to have a little bit of fun.
Okay. About Distant Vision, what do you mean by live filming?
Well, I wrote a whole book about it, so it's hard to explain.
Nice. Okay, so there is a whole book about it, which I haven't read.
It's called Live Cinema and Its Techniques. Is there one here? I don't know.
Okay, I'll check it out.
But basically, it's like, I can explain it this way. In literature, the basic unit is the sentence. If you have a great sentence, you have the beginning of what could become great writing. In cinema, the basic unit is the frame. But it's built out of going from this frame to that frame. But it's not possible to do unless you have the time to set up the camera and change the costumes and stuff like that. There are ways where you can do it now using new technology that was invented for sports that enables you to make a film that looks like a movie, but is coming to you live, with live performances where the actors are doing the timing and not the editors.
Okay, I hope you get to put that in the world. Thanks a lot, Mr. Coppola.
Me too. It all depends on me living longer.
Let's hope you do, mister.
I hope to too.
Well, é isso? Feito? Thanks, Mr. Coppola. Next time we talk a little bit about Curitiba. I know you like it a lot.
Well, Curitiba was a very innovative place. I'm anxious to see if it's still as wonderful as I remember when Jamie Lerner was there. He is like a Caesar in my movie.
Yeah, I heard about it, but I used to live there for 4 years, and it's an amazing city.
How many years?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years. 2 years ago for 4 years. I went there in 2016.
Well, it depends if the new mayor keeps the tradition.
Well, it does feel like an amazing city with good mobility, good everything. I